Sports arguments are great. Sports arguments are great. But there are certain sports arguments that end eventually. For instance, Wayne Gretzky. Sidney Crosby's great, but the best hockey player of all time is Wayne Gretzky. You sound like an idiot arguing it. Michael Jordan versus LeBron Magic. Michael Jordan's the best basketball player ever. I think Magic and LeBron are both closer, but right now Michael's the best player ever. For years and years, we've had this who's the best quarterback thing. And a couple years ago after Brady, he started racking up more Super Bowls. We kind of acknowledged that Tom Brady's the best quarterback probably of all time. Folks, it's in the Gretzky and Michael Jordan category now. It ain't close. Tom's lapping everybody. First of all, Tom has 202 more touchdown passes than Montana, 24,000 more yards passing, and 9 more playoff wins, and I think Tom eventually gets to double the playoff wins. Joe Montana had Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver of all time, and the best offensive coach arguably ever. The most TD passes in a season was 31. Tom averages 30. And he's had one great receiver ever, Randy Moss, for about an hour and a half. Peter King, on his verified account, said yesterday, since Tom turned 39 a month before last year, 47 touchdowns, 4 picks in the regular season. He has done it, and he is still the gold standard of accuracy. You watched that game last night against the best corners in the NFL. It is incredible. It's fallen into the Wayne Gretzky's the best hockey player of all time argument. It's like over. It's done. It's not close. And I watched him last night. Barring an injury, he has 2 more, minimum 2 more full seasons left. Did it against Peyton Manning in his prime, too. And Big Ben in his prime. Can I throw some support out here for a couple of head coaches? A couple of head coaches that everybody always wants to fire. Marvin Lewis, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. He lost yesterday. And Bill O'Brien, the coach of the Houston Texans. They got crushed yesterday. I'll get back to them in a second, but I want to defend both Marvin Lewis at Cincinnati, and I want to defend Bill O'Brien at Houston. And they lost yesterday. There are 32 NFL head coaching jobs, and right now we have 32 NFL head coaches. But I'm not sure we have 32 qualified head coaches. I watched yesterday the LA Chargers for 3.5 hours control the Jaguars. Twice they picked off Blake Bortles. Once with 1:50 left, once with 1:20 left. They had the lead both times. They outplayed him for 3.5 hours, and they lost. I got nothing against Anthony Lynn, but he'd never been a coordinator for a full year. You watching Denver last night? Vance Joseph had been a coordinator for 1 year. Did you watch Denver's special teams? Absolutely atrocious. Embarrassing. Looked collegiate. The defense no longer playing with confidence behind Vance Joseph. Let's segue to Ben McAdoo. 2 years ago when he got this job, if he'd have been on the open market, would Ohio State and Alabama would have even interviewed him? He doesn't look comfortable on the sidelines or at the podium. And it's very interesting, since college football started paying $5, $6, $7 million a year for a head coach, a lot of coaches don't want to coach in the NFL for the crazy billionaire owner, because the league now is so quarterback driven. If you don't have one, as Herm Edwards once told me, there's 2 types of coaches in the NFL, including Bill Belichick. Those who have a star quarterback and those who are unemployed. Now I want to go back to Marvin Lewis, who everybody wants to run out of town every year. He's been coaching 15 seasons in Cincinnati, one of the cheapest organizations in sports. He's been to the playoffs 7 times and won 10-plus games 6 years. A lot of that's with Andy Dalton, the beige water pistol. Houston Texans get a lot of heat, too. And by the way, Marvin Lewis, 121-109 in a division with the Steelers and the Ravens, who between the two of them, last decade have won 3 Super Bowls. And all Marvin does is put a team on the field every Sunday that's competitive. And you want to run him out of town. And let me give Bill O'Brien some credit. He's year 4 in Houston. He's never had a quarterback. In fact, there are years he's had the worst statistical quarterback in the league. And you know what Bill O'Brien is every year? 9-7, 9-7, 9-7. College football started paying coaches a decade ago. Big boy money, corner office stuff, $5 large a year or more, bonuses, insurance policies to add $2-3 million a year. Under the table booster money, cars, cash, houses. Yeah, Nick Saban, they paid for his house. So a lot of those guys that could coach in the NFL have said no thanks. Be very careful about running out your Bill O'Brien and Marvin Lewis. Be very careful. That's why I've defended Marvin Lewis 100 times. I'm tough on Mike Tomlin because he inherited a great owner, a great roster in Big Ben. Marvin Lewis did not. Bill O'Brien did not. I'm watching these NFL games this weekend, and some of these coaches may be good, but they either haven't been a coordinator for a full year, have been, but for just a year, or they're Ben McAdoo, who is quite possibly smart. I keep hearing that all the time, but he's not a head coach. Just because you lost a game and you have losing seasons. Marvin Lewis, Bill O'Brien, show's got your back. There's an old saying in football. It's called a burn the tape game. And in that sometimes there's an injury, there's a problem, there's an issue. Who knows? It's a burn the tape game. It doesn't identify who you are. It doesn't define what kind of team you have. Yesterday was that for the Dallas Cowboys. Atlanta Falcon fans are the biggest bandwagon fans in the world. This morning they're like, oh, we're great. Oh, really? Your next game's Monday Night Football in Seattle. It'll be raining sideways. They're well rested. They played on Thursday. You'll go back and hide like you always do. This is a burn your tape game for the Dallas Cowboys. It does not define them. When I saw that Tyrone Smith, their left tackle, the best left tackle in football, was a late scratch with no Ezekiel Elliott, I said, boys in trouble. And they were. And then when they lost Sean Lee trailing 7-3, I said, oh, they're in real trouble. From that point on, it was 24-0 Atlanta. It is a burn the tape game. They had the best left tackle in football out, the best running back in the league out. And Sean Lee is incredibly valuable for that team. Remember, there is a difference between great and valuable. J.J. Watt is great, but Houston without him, 9-7. Year before, Houston with him, 9-7. You want to know what valuable is? Valuable is your iPhone. Okay, your iPhone's your alarm, your Rolodex, your calendar, your camera, your GPS, your wallet, your computer. A Rolex watch is great. It ain't that valuable. The iPhone's valuable. A Maserati's great. It's not that valuable. It's a rich guy's second, third, or fourth car. Okay, look at the numbers on Sean Lee. He and Luke Kuechly, you can argue, are the most valuable players in the NFL. The Cowboys with him and the Cowboys without him. They give up 1.5 yards per play without him. They're not the same team. They're sack percentage doubles. No Zeke, no Tyrone Smith, no Sean Lee. Burn the tape. Don't take much from that. In games he's finished this year, they're 5-1. In games he hasn't finished, they're 0-3. This is not a shot at Atlanta. Okay, Atlanta goes to Seattle that played on Thursday. It'll be in Seattle. Matty Ice with a pass rush. Will be Matty Ice. Andy Dalton in a dome, not Aaron Rodgers. This is no shot at Atlanta. I like them. Don't love them. But don't take too much of this Dallas game. It simply doesn't mean that much.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from the newest show on FS1, First Things First, with Chris Carter and Nick Wright.